Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to our cozy little corner of the internet. I'm Pen and today I'll be reading chapter 13 of It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes. There were no trigger warnings for this video, but anyway, if you have any suggestions for any fics you would like me to read, leave them down in the comments because I'm getting to the end of this book and I haven't heard from any of the authors I've asked. So yeah. If you have any suggestions for fics for me to read, please leave them down in the comments, and let's get right into this chapter. See ya! Chapter 13. Izuku was picking at the paint of the railing of his dorm room balcony. It was Sunday night, 2 days after the attack on the USJ. Shota had been released from hospital. Was being released from hospital tomorrow morning, and Izuku was still anxious about the state he was in. There was concerns for his quirk, but Recovery Girl had assured him that he was going to be okay. That didn't stop Izuku from worrying about his teacher. A knock startled him out of his worries. "Come in," he called, but then turned around. The tired shuffling of his feet told him that it wasn't Hitoshi who came in, nor any of his classmates. Osamu settled beside him on the railing, still bandaged up pretty tightly and moving slowly. He was in pain, much was clear, but he had been released from medical care. Izuku still couldn't look at the burns without getting angry. Izuku's mentor had a small velvet box in his pocket and offered it to Izuku. Taking it, he opened it to find a brand new grey band. He had requested this yesterday for Shota. The teacher had protected his students with his life, and he had protected Izuku from a quirk despite how much pain he was in. All these months he had done his best to learn their culture and be a true part of the community. He was a safe person. Izuku trusted Shota with his life. He deserved to wear the grey band proudly. I was almost worried that I would never be able to give this to him. Chio-san said I was overreacting, but his head injury was so bad, Osamu. Really bad. I know, kid. The man brushed a hand over the back of Izuku's head, and Izuku quickly wrapped his arms around Osamu, burying his face into the man's uninjured side. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry so much has happened to you in such a short amount of time, Izuku. It's all so much, but I know you'll make it through. Izuku clutched the back of Osamu's shirt, strangling his desire to sob into his mentor's chest. There were many things he wanted to say to his mentor. He had spent several years only knowing the kindness of the Quirkless community, and now that he had found it elsewhere, he was so scared to lose it. But admitting that aloud felt too monumental and terrifying, because admitting there was something beautiful he could lose made the risk of losing it much more real. Osamu? Izuku pulled back his head. His mentor gave him a go-on look. There's something I've been wanting to speak to you about. What's up? The older man settled himself in the chair on the balcony, slightly sensing the seriousness in Izuku's tone of voice. This was a hard subject to broach for Izuku. He'd been thinking it over all day while waiting for his mentor to arrive with the bracelet. With all the violence in the last few days, Izuku couldn't help but be forced to face the parallels in his own life, his family and upbringing. He was so desperate for simple answers to burning questions he still had. Questions that he wasn't sure he would ever get the answers to. Questions he wasn't sure he should ask. I want to talk to Inko. Excuse me? Osamu looked shocked at the sudden revelation, like he would have jumped right out of his chair if he weren't in pain. I know you must have smacked your head off the concrete. I know you must have smacked your head off the concrete as bad as Aizawa, but if you're thinking I'll let you within 50 yards of that woman ever again. Osamu, no. He did stand up this time, gingerly. Listen to me, Izuku. That woman nearly killed you with her own hands willingly. She threw you into a desk with her quirk hard enough to shove your ribs through your lungs. Do I need to give you the whole trauma processing talk again? No, I get it. They had the trauma processing talk a couple of times in Izuku's short life. He knew that wanting answers and closure was a part of processing his trauma, but accepting that there was very little chance he'd ever get the satisfactory closure was on the other side of that coin. It didn't mean he couldn't get closure in a variety of ways, but it was rare the abuser would be the source of it. I get it, Osamu. I know what she did. I know I might never get closure over it all, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't try, right? Try what? You want answers from the woman who brutalized you? What answer could she give you that would be satisfying? The older man was speaking calmly. This was not a light subject, which meant a very high chance of offending each other by saying the wrong thing. He was treading carefully. What could she say to make her worthy of any forgiveness from anyone? I don't know, Osamu. Maybe she's sorry. Maybe that she's sorry or that she was wrong. But she won't say any of that, Izuku. The police didn't even file a report on the incident. She will never, he sighed. Osamu didn't have to finish his sentence. Izuku knew what he was going to say. He heard it before. They all had. The saying was something of a legend in the Quirkless community. Whoever it was, father, mother, sibling, the saying was still the same. They would never look at a Quirkless person and see someone worth apologizing to. They would never look at the Quirkless community and see anything of value. Izuku threw Osamu off without even trying. Izuku knew Osamu wasn't trying to upset him. That's why he had to cut himself off, but they both knew the truth. She will never look at me like someone worthy of loving, Izuku muttered. He nodded a few times to himself and turned back to the campus over the balcony railing. Osamu joined him again and wrapped an arm around his shoulders. You are worth so much more than that woman could ever see, Izuku. I know, Osamu. Izuku leaned into the other man's shoulders and sighed. I'm just tired. I want my mother to answer for her crimes. I want to know why she did it. I want her to look me in the eyes and say why she does not have a single ounce of love in her heart for me. Osamu kissed the top of his head and rubbed his arms. I know, kid. He sighed again, but finally caving. If you're doing this, you're not doing this alone. Got it? I figured that much. How are you planning on telling Hitoshi or Aizawa? Izuku paled. Fuck. You only thought this halfway through, didn't you? I mean, Izuku groaned. I was just thinking about the closure part. He fiddled with the bracelet box for a moment, not wanting to look back at his mentor because he knew Osamu was likely wearing one of those looks that said Izuku was going to have to face the music sooner or later. Hitoshi would be a firm no. There was zero question about that. Schroeder might be a bit more accommodating once he heard Izuku's reasoning, but that didn't mean either one of them would be happy about it. It was a dumb idea, an incredibly stupid idea even, but Izuku had the chance to find out why. He had the chance to not get that not everyone gets. If he didn't take it, he'd go insane living his life, never knowing the whole truth about his horse from the horse's mouth. He'll be home tomorrow, right? Izuku nodded. Yeah, Zashi said he won't be allowed to teach until next week, but I think we both know that won't be happening. Osamu laughed. Yeah. He shook his head. Give him the bracelet and tell him the truth. Same with Toshi. Be honest with them, they'll understand, but don't expect to do this without stipulations. Thanks, Osamu. He wrapped an arm around his mentor and hugged him carefully. You should know I appreciate you for what you've done for me over the years. Izuku, I'm just doing my job as your mentor. No, you're going above and beyond that. You've honestly been the only father figure and the first adult I ever trusted. Kid. He hugged Izuku tighter. You know you're like a son to me. You always have been, and you always will be. I'll always be there for you. Thank you. No. Hitoshi was pacing his room. Absolutely not. Toshi, don't. He put a finger up between them, forcing Izuku back an inch. Don't you dare tell me you can get some kind of fucked up resolution to a story that isn't even over yet. He scoffed. I know damn well Osamu already grilled you about this, but why the hell are you still on this why is it still on the damn table? Toshi, stop. The purple-haired teen stood with his hands on his hips, huffing for air. They had been going back and forth for half an hour, and at least three of their classmates had already banged on the walls, telling them to shut the hell up. It was 11:30 at night, and they had classes at 7 a.m. There was no chance Izuku was going to sleep tonight. You're not listening. Okay. Hitoshi took a deep breath. Sorry, Izuku. He wiped his hand down his face and started pacing again. I'm scared, okay? Izuku finally felt a break of the tension that had been suffocating the room for the last 30 minutes. He took an easy breath and grabbed his boyfriend into a tight hug. Hitoshi willingly wrapped himself around him, burying his face into Izuku's neck. I'm so scared, Izuku. I'm so scared you'll hurt you again. I know. He cupped the back of Hitoshi's head, kissed the top of his lovely purple waves, and tried not to cry. I know, I'm scared too, but I have to do this. I can't have been forced to endure all her abuse and all this violence, purely because I was born in Quirkless and nothing else. I want answers. I want to face her. I need to know if she... He wasn't holding in his tears anymore. They were pouring down his face and into Hitoshi's hair. I need to know if she ever loved me. But why do you need to know that? Hitoshi asked, his arms tightening around Izuku's ribs. Her opinion doesn't matter. You have people who love you. Is that not enough? Izuku pulled them apart so he could grab Hitoshi's face and kiss him passionately. Suddenly, the taller teen seemed unable to process it at first, but eventually he melted into the kiss. It broke only a moment later with a gasp and their hands grabbing at each other's face. Of course you're enough. Izuku thumped their foreheads together. You were always enough. You always will be enough. But... Hitoshi mumbled with his eyes closed. Izuku sighed. She is still my mother. I can't go my entire life without knowing the truth about this woman who brought me into the world. Hitoshi's body deflated a little and sunk into Izuku's frame. Their hug collapsed onto the floor, where they curled around each other like the world was ending. Some part of it was ending. Izuku wasn't sure if his faith in familial love would survive this encounter, but he knew he had to do it. All the violence cannot have been for nothing. He refused to accept that. There may never be a day where his mother accepts him or even loves him, but he would not allow his life to pass by without at least having asked her for honesty. Izuku peeked his head into Nezu's office after being mysteriously summoned. The door had been left open, which was never a good sign. The Chaos Lord Chimera never left his door open unless there was a damn good reason, or someone forgot to close it on the way out. Izuku knew better than to trust the crazy rat to not pull something. Still, today it seemed safe. Izuku, come in. Izuku relaxed a little, straightening his uniform jacket and slowly made his way to the couch across from Nezu in the sitting area of his office. The Chimera was pouring them tea with a pleasant smile on his face. How do I do Nezu's voice again? I wanted to speak with you about the report I received from Aizawa during the USJ attack. Oh, sure. I'm guessing me knowing Shigaraki's quirk name. Yes. Nezu passed him a cup of tea, which Izuku accepted with a grateful nod. While we know you're diagnosed quirkless, I took the liberty of looking into your records. Oh no. Your mother has a mental type quirk, telekinesis of a kind, yes? Izuku sipped on his tea quietly, trying not to worry. There's the issue of no record. The issue is there's no record of your father. Full stop. Huh? Izuku, there's no record of your father at all. Your birth certificate was redacted, and even the highest level of clearance from the commission couldn't unlock it. What are you saying, Nezu? I'm saying I have no idea who your father was or his quirk. There's no record of Hisashi Midoriya even existing. Do you know anything about this? Izuku set down his teacup. No record of his father? That's not possible. It didn't make sense. Of course his father was real. Izuku remembered the clear intent in his mind, but it didn't work. Hang on, what? Izuku remembered his father. Izuku blinked several times with intent to clear his mind, but it didn't work. No matter how hard he focused on the idea of his father, he couldn't remember more than a name. Actually, the harder he focused, the more blurry his memories became. The only thing that was clear was the violence and the crawling sensation that came to his skin when he thought about Hisashi. All this time, he'd never focused on the man himself, but the experiences he had around him, with him. I can't remember. If I focus too hard on memories, they get blurry. I just know his name. I just have these horrible feelings. What the hell? That is what I was afraid of. It seems someone has not only erased him from the commission's registry, but also used a quirk on you to erase your memories, and it was likely done on your mother too. But he left shortly after I was diagnosed quirkless. That's what my mother always said. She told me he had a fire-breathing quirk. And you have shown no signs of that quirk? Fire quirks are dominant traits. It's incredibly rare for a child of a fire quirk to lack one, unless there's a more powerful quirk in place. Izuku knew that. He had studied quirk genetics for years, in hopes he would prove everyone wrong and develop a quirk someday. He prayed and hoped while studying. But in the end, he was still quirkless. His genetics make no sense. Even his mother's minor telekinesis wasn't a weak gene. Mental quirks were very dominant as well. The only thing that would make sense if Izuku's parents both had quirkless genetics, or if they both had recessive quirks. But this wasn't the case. His parents, supposedly, both had dominant quirks. Even without any close relatives as far as he knew that were quirkless. Even if they did, quirklessness was recessive. Izuku being quirkless wasn't just rare, it was statistically impossible, given what he knew about his own family tree. What little he knew or remembered of it, anyway. Now, there was no telling how wrong he might be with half his family tree missing. Izuku? Huh? I ask you, how did you know the name of the villain's quirk? Oh gosh, my Nezu voice changed all of a sudden. I'm going to be taking a couple of sips throughout the video. I'm a little dehydrated today. Anyway. I don't know. Something in the back of my head just whispered decay. He made a creepy whispered voice He made a creepy whispery voice for the quirk name for effect. I must have heard it from somewhere, right? Mm-hmm, yes. Nezu took a long sip of his teacup while nodding. Anyway, that wasn't subtle. Izuku rolled his eyes. I do believe you have a question for me, yes? I do. About this. Nezu pulled out a gold chain from under his shirt, revealing a golden band. This close, Izuku could see that it was engraved with a kanji phrase that roughly said, "A simple act of kindness can create a ripple of good farther than you could ever imagine." Osamu told me you had a gold band. Oh wait, that's Izuku. Osamu told me he had a gold band, but I'd never seen one in real life before. I don't think I've really believed it until now. Nezu gave him a go-on look. Izuku sighed. I guess I was curious about how long you've had the gold band, and maybe what did you do to earn it? Nezu smiled. From the day I've had it for just shy of 20 years. There was a streak of hate crimes. I rescued a group of Quirkless kids. That's all I wish to say. Izuku could respect that. He didn't particularly want to know how bad those hate crimes had to be for Nezu himself to step in and save a group of kids. There were still hate crimes, of course, but because the population of Quirkless births were dropping rapidly, the crime rate was also dropping. I'm giving Shoto a grey band, Izuku said offhandedly. Oh? The smile on the Chimera's face softened fondly. He's earned it, He earned it, I think. Yeah, Izuku sighed. He really has. Whatever the weirdness was around Izuku's freaky quirk sense, Izuku was sure to ignore it for now. Was going to ignore it for now and not worry about it. He wanted to focus on possibly getting closure for the wounds he endured as a child. His new life at UA and his friends. He was going to be the first Quirkless hero, and nothing was going to get in his way. Nezu? The Chimera looked up. I want your help in destroying Endeavour without breaking the law. Nezu's smile turned into a devious grin. I was hoping you would ask that. The decision was so simple. He wanted to burn that bastard that hurt his mentor, but he wanted to be a hero. Hitoshi made him realize that yes, he wanted to burn the hero more than he wanted to be a hero more than he wanted to get revenge, but he wouldn't let Endeavour get away with what he did either. I'm gonna ask Todoroki if he wants to help too. That's an excellent idea, Izuku. He left the principal's office and started with a tingling sensation at the base of his skull. He kept trying to remember what his father looked like, but he could clearly remember the man's hands, the way they tightened around his neck and arms. He had very clear memories of several dozen things no one should ever have to remember, but of all of that, he couldn't make a single clear image of that bastard's face appear in his mind. The strangest part was that it never occurred to him that it was strange. He had only focused on the man's appearance in his memories or thoughts. He'd never focused on the man's appearance in his memories or thoughts, only what he had done. There was some reason or purpose for that. Was there some reason or purpose for that? Maybe. Izuku could almost feel the pulsing vein on Shoto's head get larger. Izuku had convinced Shoto to have this conversation away from prying ears. Mostly away from Hitoshi, who would still have more to say on the subject of Izuku's mother. They were up on the dorm roof, sitting on one of the benches, looking out across campus. You're gonna be the death of me, kid. Izuku sighed. Yeah, I know. He sucked in a deep breath. But you deserve to have some closure. Even if we both know this will only end in tragedy. Shota was right, but Shota was right. It would probably end in tragedy, for Izuku at least. You'll not, however, be going alone. That is out of the question. Osamu is still recovering, and Hitoshi is just as likely as you are to strangle that woman, so I'm going with you. You're still recovering too, Shota. I had my head smacked into concrete. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last. Did you forget you have a shattered arm? Izuku threw his hands up, exasperated. What does that have to do with anything? You realize I can use my capture scarf one-handed, right? I did not. That was news, though it probably should have been obvious given the man's mastery of the tool. But Izuku had never seen him use it one-handed, so why would he think it was possible? Shota rolled his good shoulder and stood up to meander himself on the railing. The tired teacher took out a pack of cigarettes and expertly placed one between his lips and lit it all with one hand. I'll schedule a time to meet with her. Any preferences? No. I mean, maybe a weekend. Izuku picked the bottom of his shirt for a moment, while the hero calmly smoked while watching the campus. He looked at the velvet case from his pocket and stared at it. How was he supposed to change the topic so drastically? Was this even the right time to give Shota his band? Just know, if she even touches you, I'm breaking a bone for every finger she puts on you. Izuku swallowed hard. He absolutely believed Shota's words. The man's tone had been cold, almost emotionless. He was stating a fact, pure and simple. He was not going to hesitate to act upon it. Izuku stood up and joined Shota at the railing after a moment, with a box held out between them. This might be weird timing, but Osamu was able to get me this yesterday, so I didn't want to wait or have to hold on to this for too long. Besides, you've really earned it, and you should have it, and I'm rambling. Here. Shota sucked his cigarette back between his lips and so he could take the jewelry box with his good hand and thumb it open. His usually hardened, grumpy face softened when he saw what was in the box. Izuku. The man pressed a thumb to the grey material. Izuku could see a hint of tears at the edges of his eyes. This is you. Are you sure? Of course, I know we had a rocky start, but you put in the effort to learn about our culture, to protect me, and to make sure I had access, and have every access and right that the rest of the students have. You went above and beyond to help me get caught up on the rest of the class over summer. You are a safe person. I trust you. Can you help me? Oh, sure. Izuku took out took the box back and placed the bracelet and pulled the bracelet from the soft setting. Took Shota's uninjured hand and slipped the band around his wrist. You can get it resized if you want. I have mine sized down and welded so they don't come off. Shota flipped his arm over a few times to spin the band and read the kanji engraved on it. Teachers who help those find strength, wipe tears away. Teachers are those who find strength, wipe tears away, overpower demons, and conquer fears. This time, Shota had to wipe away a few stray tears of his own. Thank you, Izuku. I don't think I've received a better gift. Oh, yeah. He rubbed his hand over his cheek, trying to hide the blush creeping onto his face. Well, he deserved it. I want to give Toshi a grey band too. Izuku trailed off. Why do I sense there's a but there? But I think I'd rather wait and give him a green band. Shota arched an eyebrow. Oh, isn't it a little too soon for that? Yeah, maybe. Izuku shrugged. But I could use it like a promise ring. Does that make sense? Shota didn't respond. He was giving Izuku an expectant look. Izuku offered a frustrated sigh. I know I've always been so scared of what he would. I've always been so scared that he would get persecuted for loving me. Do you know what his response to that was? Shota smirked, knowing it would be good. Izuku chuckled to himself. He said it wouldn't be love if he ran when it was hard. Oh, that's good. Right? Izuku shook his head. After everything we've been through, he's been literally beaten bloody for his love. I want him to know that I'm not running either. He's been there for me through all this madness. I want him to know I'm not running because I'm scared. I was thinking I'll get him a green band for his birthday. Izuku took a long puff of his cigarette and rubbed it out on the bottom of his boot. As long as you don't get married before graduation. Izuku snorted. Come on. I don't think either of us are ready for that just yet, Shota. Good. You're still my kids. You're not getting married before you graduate high school. We're your kids? Izuku put a hand to his mouth and a fake gasp on his lips. If you tell your classmates I said that, you will never get out of detention. Izuku made the slipping motion of his fingers across his lips, but the other hand crossed his fingers behind his back. I wouldn't dream of it. Liar, Shota grumbled. Izuku skipped off the ceiling, off towards the stairway door. You can't prove that. Go do your homework, problem child. Izuku saluted his teacher as he left. He got a text later from Shota, which once more thanked him for the bracelet. Honestly, he couldn't have been asked for a better teacher and guardian. He was excited for the next 2 years of high school. To keep Shota as a safe person in the community for years to come. Okay everyone, that was chapter 13 of It's Not Love If You Run When It's Hard by Lita Cakes. I really enjoyed that chapter, and I haven't read through chapter 14, but it sounds like it's going to be wholesome. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.